Hey Canucks fans, welcome to Clay's Canucks Commentary. It is Sunday, November the 18th. I'm Clay Emo at Canuck Clay on Twitter. I'm at Clay Emo on Instagram. I'm a founding member of the GLCPC, the Good Looking Canucks Positivity Club, and this is my Canucks take, all in one take. I was there last night as the Vancouver Canucks lost an exciting 3-2 decision to the visiting Montreal Canadiens. Crazy atmosphere, very entertaining game, especially in the third period. Goals, giveaways, hits. I'll get into all that in a second, but first I want to give a few shout-outs. Firstly, I want to thank my friend Alexander for bringing me to the game. Very generous of him. As I mentioned yesterday, I actually sold my tickets to my cousin Jessica, and then Alexander invited me a couple weeks ago to come to this game. And man, these seats, they're amazing. They're section 117. I won't say the exact row, just in case you want to go and try and sit there, but basically halfway up the section, seats the third and fourth seat in from the aisle. So basically, 5 feet from me was the center line. So it was amazing, amazing seats. And it was completely different than what I'm used to. I'm usually used to my regular seats in 319, row 13, which I love, which are cheap. But these ones, very amazing. Just the atmosphere. You can hear, we're right behind the benches, so you can see a lot of the interplay there between the coaches and the players. And of course, having no one leaning in front of you in the bottom, in the lower bowl, and being able to see both sides and not too low. Sometimes I think when you sit too low, it's actually hard to see the other, the other end of the rink. But this one's right smack dab in the middle, high enough where you can see everything, and it was wonderful. So thank you, Alexander, for the invitation and for the great conversation during the game. Also got to meet friends Helen from YouTube and a long-time friend that I didn't know. Meaning I've known this person from Twitter, Jacqueline, and we finally met in person yesterday, so that was cool. Jacqueline was with Helen, so shout out to you guys as well. Thank you. Again, thank you, Alexander, and to the random Asian guy, that sounds bad, but to the guy who fist-pounded me on the way out of the arena and said, hey man, I watch your YouTube videos. Thank you. I appreciate getting a chance to say a better thank you last night, but whoever you are, thank you, and I appreciate it. Okay, enough of the self-congratulatory stuff. Let's talk about last night's game. Exciting. First game back for the Canucks, after a 6-game road trip. And I think some reporters are trying to press Travis Green after the game, saying, oh, you gave away the game. It's becoming a trend. And he said, no, that was a good team that we were playing against, a fast-skating, hard-working team, and that game could have gone either way. And I truly think it could have, especially after Pettersson scored. And let's talk about Pettersson. Not just because I was finally able to tweet my song out again. He hadn't scored since we recorded that song a week and a half ago. But he scored, and he looked dangerous all night. His goal was amazing. I keep using the word amazing. His goal was good because it came, if at first you don't succeed, try again, because Hutton gave him the one-timer. Carey Price made a nice pad save, and then about 10 seconds later, it cycled back to him. Hutton gave him another pass, and then Pettersson wired it. Not over Carey Price's near shoulder, but over his far shoulder. It was a wicked snipe. You can see Carey Price's reaction after, and it was really good to see that Pettersson get the monkey off the back, so to speak. He's still doing good. He's got 11 goals in his first 16 or 17 games, which is wonderful for a rookie, for anyone really. And he looked dangerous all night. That's the one thing. Of course, the goal was nice, but to see Pettersson look dangerous all night, he looked like his former self, so to speak. I can't believe we're talking about former self. He's been a pro for 6 weeks, but he looked dangerous. Later on, he had another chance to make the Canucks go ahead. After the Pettersson scored, Montreal scored 1 minute later, and then Pettersson had a chance to make it a 3-2 game, but he just whistled the puck over the net. He had a couple of really nice dekes last night, as always. He's Deaky Pete, and some really good passes and some great defensive back checks. So everything that we were raving about for Elias Pettersson 3 or 4 weeks ago, he was doing last night. So I think it's good. It's a good sign for us, obviously, as we have a game against Winnipeg tomorrow. But maybe it took a bit of home cooking. Maybe took a 1 or 2 nights rest in his own bed. But whatever it is, I think Pettersson is back. I think reports of his demise were greatly exaggerated. And yeah, sure, he slumped a little bit, like all the Canucks were slumping. But just imagine when he gets Brock Besser back and Sven Berchi back, and I'll get to that in a second. So Pettersson had a great game. You know who else had a good game? Despite the last turnover, Michael Del Zotto. And I know many of you are going to say, oh man, it's because of him we lost the game. Yeah, it's because of his late hit on Kotkaniemi. I'm trying to get better at saying that. Yeah, that was pretty bonehead play, and the Canadiens scored on the power play right after that, in essence sealing the game. So in one hand, you could say he cost us the game, or his penalty cost us the game. On the other hand, he did a lot of good things. You know, he scored the first goal on a nice rush to the net, and I thought he was playing well overall the entire night, except for that gaffe. So it is what it is, so to speak, and really he's only playing so many minutes because Alex Edler is out. And another defenseman who I really noticed is Erik Gudbranson. And I tweeted about this last night and got a lot of attention on Twitter because it's true. He does a lot of little things, so to speak, that you might not pick up on TV. And I'm not trying to sound like a snob, but I noticed because I was there and I was actually in front of the benches last night. So the way he talks to his teammates, he encourages them, the way he stands up for his teammates in scrums, and even in the, as you know, players are skating towards their respective benches, you know, during TV timeouts, whatever it may be, he's always engaged and he's always communicating and he's always leading. And yes, I know some of you are going to say, well, where was he, you know, when Matheson hit Pettersson? I'll move on. That was a month ago now. I'm talking about last night, and I really liked the way that Gudbranson was standing up for his teammates and was really active. Bo Horvat had a massive game, as always comes to play, and he's shouldering a lot of minutes and face-offs because of you know, the injuries to Beagle and to Sutter. So I also tweeted this, and it sounds like sort of losership, but I really think that, you know, you have Besser, Berchi, Sutter, Beagle, and Edler in that lineup last night, and we win that game. We also probably win 2 or 3 more games on the road trip. We're also then 4 or 6 points higher in the standings. But speaking of the standings, it's pretty crazy. You know, a lot of Pacific teams lost. The only Pacific teams that won yesterday were San Jose and Calgary, and those happen to be the 2 teams that are above us. But the teams below us all lost, which is good. LA lost, Edmonton lost, Arizona lost, and then that means LA, Edmonton, Arizona, us, those 2. So that means 2 teams didn't play. I'm not sure if Vegas played or if they lost, but they've always been losing. Sorry, Louis. So despite the Canucks, they've dropped basically to 500 exactly in terms of points. They're now 10-10-2, so they have 22 points in 22 games. You know, that's not going to, 82 points in 82 games isn't going to make the playoffs. But amazingly, they're still in 3rd place in the Pacific Division. That means by virtue of being 3rd, despite how weak the division is, they're in a playoff position right now. And even if all the teams underneath them win all their games in hand, which doesn't necessarily bound to happen, there will only be 1 point up on the Canucks or 1 point behind them. So my point is, it's a very tight, it's a very weak division, but it's very tight. And the Canucks, despite losing 5 straight, are still in the playoff hunt, which is nice to see. What wasn't nice to see was all those red and blue jerseys last night. It was really a good atmosphere, though. You know, during the warm-up, when the Canadiens skated out, when they won the game, and of course when they scored each of their 3 goals, loud contingent of fans made for a really, really charged atmosphere. And I think no matter if I was in my normal seats up top or in the seats I was in down below, it was really, really, it was a good game, and I was really grateful to be at the Montreal game. I guess the only other thing I want to talk about is the start time. We lament, we grieve, we complain about a 4 o'clock start time for Hockey Night in Canada usually, and it's usually because Toronto comes into town. But no, this was Montreal, obviously, and I sent a quick poll out on Twitter, as I do before these videos, and I said, hey, what's your favorite start time for Canucks games? And I gave 4 options. 10 a.m., these are all Pacific, so 10 a.m. Pacific, which means a 1 p.m. start in back east, and we've seen that for Buffalo and Boston games. Or how about a 1 p.m. start Pacific, i.e. 4 Eastern, 4 o'clock, 4:30, 5 o'clock start, like last night, or the typical 7 o'clock start, or 7:30 when it's late in San Jose, or 6 or 6:30 when it's in the, you know, the 1 time zone over. And over 70% of you said that you like the 7 p.m. start. Maybe you're creatures of habit, whether it's on a Saturday night or on a weeknight, that would make sense, you know, to have that regular 7 p.m. home game. And that's kind of our routine, and that's kind of like the players' routine. Behind that 70% was about 22% for the 4 p.m. start, because it means that you still have the rest of your evening afterwards, which is nice. And if it's on a weekday, it's a little more challenging. Obviously, most people will miss the first period or so. And a lot of people, of course, PVR the game and watch it in less than 2.5 hours. And then, you know, the 10 o'clock start, the 1 o'clock start, barely got any votes. And that makes sense because A, it's very rare, and B, those don't work on a weekday, which I think people presumed I was talking about the weekend. But I kind of like the 10 o'clock start, the 1 o'clock start, because it gives you the rest of the day. Gives me a chance to record a quick video before the rest of the day begins. But I think most people are creatures of habit, and that's why the 70% showed up as the overwhelming winner. So to recap from last night's game, great atmosphere. Didn't like to see Montreal win and the Canucks lose, but I think the Canucks played a very good game. They played their butts off. Unfortunate penalty by Michael Del Zotto, negating a strong game from otherwise. Great to see Elias Pettersson back, and he looked dangerous once again, both on offense and defense, shooting and passing and deking. And I'm sure he can't wait, just like all of us can't wait for guys like Brock Besser, Sven Berchi, Brandon Sutter, Jay Beagle, and Alex Edler to all get back. Anders Nilsson too. Remember, I sound like a broken record. I'm not making excuses, but that is 6 regulars out of the lineup, 1/3 of their active roster. Okay, Canucks fans, what do you think? What do you think of the game? Were you as upset as I was that Montreal won, or do you chalk it up to a good game, a good effort from 2 young teams? By the way, Max Domi is a bit of a poop disturber. He's a very talented player, but he was going after Eric Branson a couple of times, kind of poking the bear. So that was kind of interesting to see Domi playing. Domi's off to a hot start for the Canadiens. You gotta hand it to him that way. So Canucks fans, leave a comment below. I'd love to read, react, and reply. As always, what do you think of the game? Are you upset at Del Zotto? What do you think of his game otherwise? And what do you think of Elias Pettersson's game? Maybe Bo Horvat as well. Talk about whatever you want to talk about. I love to read everything that you have to say. Subscribe if you'd like to. Like this video if you like to. Once again, thank you, Alexander. And nice to see you, Helen and Jacqueline. And random Asian guy, thank you for your affirmation. Canucks are back at it tomorrow. Actually, they practiced in about an hour. So recording this video before we know about any practice lines or lineup changes. And then I'm at the game tomorrow with my son Sean, not in the regular seats, but in my van-based ticket package seats, watching the Winnipeg Jets, and I'm bringing my son Sean to that game. Have a great day. God bless, and go Canucks go.